The final lesson in Unit 2 will be looking at Google's spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and access Google's spreadsheet by going to the Drive Pull menu in my Google page. And just like I have before, I'm going to go ahead and go to the Create button. The Pull menu drops down, and I'm just going to move on down the line to Spreadsheet. Google Spreadsheet is very similar in all spreadsheet software options. Excel being the forerunner as far as probably the spreadsheet program that most people are familiar with. But in true Google fashion, it is once again a software that's watered down in terms of options and functions. It's got what you need and not much else. For myself, though, I don't use spreadsheets too often. I use them to organize some data. I use them to help students graph. But I don't honestly use spreadsheets too often in terms of what spreadsheets can actually do in terms of the power that they have in organizing, sorting, and presenting data. But I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the tools that I use, some of the options I use when I am using a Google spreadsheet. As always, the spreadsheet comes untitled, so I'm going to go ahead and go up to the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to go ahead and title this spreadsheet. I'm going to keep the true form, as we have been so far in this class, is Test Spreadsheet. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and that name will apply to our spreadsheet right away. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and start looking at the layout in terms of where everything is, and then we'll start going from there. At the very top of my spreadsheet, I've got our columns: column A, column B, column C, column D, so on and so on and so on. And then over on the left-hand side, we've got our rows 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And whatever cell I'm working in is going to be highlighted with that blue perimeter that follows around. And here, as I can tell by the blue perimeter around the cell and the column and the row being highlighted, I know I'm working in cell A1 or B2 or C3 and on and on. The format is very similar, the layout is very similar to all spreadsheet programs. Inputting information just requires you to select a cell and to double click on it, where the text area or the text features will then become active. The cell begins to expand a little bit, and then your cursor is available. Up above, you'll see a text area that will show exactly what you're typing in whatever cell you're in. And whenever you're going to use a spreadsheet to help you organize, you can do that by creating headings at the top. Whenever you find that you need to maybe move information around, you find that perhaps you were beginning to type information a little too quickly in one area, you can highlight either an individual cell, or if you click and pull, you can highlight multiple cells, and then turn your pointer into a hand. From the arrow to the hand, I'm able to then click and pull, and I can move information from one set of cells to another depending on what it is I need to be doing and how it is I want to be organizing my information. If it turns out that's something I didn't want to do, I can just go up to, my target's going to point out the undo, which is also a Command Z when you're using a Macintosh, and that will undo whatever action you just performed. I'm going to go ahead and move my headings over by clicking on cell A1 and highlighting over, and just repeat the exact action I had done before. And now I'm going to take a look at some of the formatting options that are available to us. Not only what the formatting options are for the text, but what also functions we have available when we're using a spreadsheet program like this. I'm going to go ahead and click on cell B1, heading 1 there, and we can see right away some of the options for what the words look like. We've got the fonts at the very top right there, and within the spreadsheet there's even fewer options than there are in the word processing or in the presentation program. Very simple, very quick to choose. Sizes as well, although you can input the size just like you can in the other Google tools. Within a spreadsheet, within the cells there, you want to probably keep it a usable size for viewing. We've got bold, italic, strike through, and then color as well. I find myself using bold more often than not when I am using a spreadsheet to help organize information. Other options that I use to help visually organize the information, if this would be something I would to print off or to share with colleagues or to share with students, is actually right up here where my target's showing up, and that's the borders. The borders function is just a way for you to quickly add a line above or below or anywhere within a cell or a selection of cells. I'm going to go ahead and highlight cells A1 through D1, and with my borders I'm going to choose a line below to help separate the headings from the actual data or the actual information that I'll be inputting into this spreadsheet. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight down to bottom border, and when I click on that, it's going to go ahead and just add a line, a darker line, below my 4 cells there that I had selected. And I can click off to make those go away. And when I click off again, you can see that I've got a solid line below my headings there. And that's just a good visual technique, or just a good visual cue to put in to separate headings of information from the rest of that information. And you can always take these off with either an undo, or you can simply select those cells again and go up to our border tool, and there is a no border option which will clear all the borders out and take it back as it originally was. Now that we've taken a look at a little bit of the formatting options there, I'm going to go ahead and highlight one more time, bring those headings over, and I'm going to start to just input some random data, just information that really has no meaning other than it's an example. And I'm using my arrow keys now to put random information in. If you find yourself putting the same number in over and over, like other spreadsheet programs, you can put a number in or data in, and you can pull that down by highlighting the individual cell and then turning the pointer from a arrow into a plus sign and just pull that down the way. That will autofill the rest of the cells down, and it saves you a little bit of time there. I'm going to do that one more time. I'll put a 4 right here in cell C1, click above, turn it into a plus sign, and then just pull all the way down, and it autofills with 4. If not every one of those cells needed a 4, but most of them did, I can just go back and change the individual cells that we're going to be hosting a different value. Well, now that I've got these pieces of data in, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at some of the functions we have available to us. If I were to go to heading 3 and I were to select all of the cells there, I'm going to go up and take a look at some of the functions we have available with this information. With those cells highlighted, and I'm going over to the function key now, which is that little backwards E looking thing, or the function sign. It allows me to choose different functions that I can apply to the cells I have selected. So I've got right away sum and average and count, max and minimum, along with many more functions. Myself, I don't use many more than these default ones that are available to me. If I were to click on auto sum and then press return, it would then do just that. It would go ahead and sum or add up all of the cells that I had highlighted. I can do the same with heading 2. I can go ahead and auto average those. You'll notice that the actual function will turn into a spreadsheet formula that is applied to those pieces of information that shows exactly what's happening. Meaning we see equal average B2 through B7 right here, and that's just a formula that's being applied to that particular part of the spreadsheet that's helping you do some sort of a calculation, such as average or adding. When I push return, it's going to go ahead and auto average that out, and my average there is 5.5. And I'll go ahead and do that one more time. I'll do the, we'll look at the maximum number, and it says that it is 7. So within those functions, you actually have some good teaching tools in terms of mode, medium, average, something that might be a good tool for teaching that to kids that might respond to a spreadsheet environment in terms of actually visually seeing how this information is organized and then averaged through with a formula like that. Like I said, there are many, many more functions that are available to you, especially when you find the need. If you're somebody who uses spreadsheets for more than just the basic organization, there's many to choose from. If I were to go to the more functions, it'll take us to another page, and it'll go ahead and break down the function exactly by what you need your spreadsheet to do. It's broken down by type, name, syntax, description of what the function can do. And I mostly, when I am looking for a function specifically for operation I'm trying to perform, I'll look under the type, or if I want to, I'll go ahead and with the pull menu under the select an option, there's a lot of different categories that you can go ahead and focus the Google functions to, so you can apply the right function for exactly what you're trying to get it to do. I'm going to go ahead and close this window back out and get to my original spreadsheet there, the test spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do now is highlight the cells of information that I applied those functions to. And to get rid of information from one cell or a selection of cells, I'm just going to highlight those and press return. And we're back to our original 3 headings and then information or data that I have inputted below those. A couple other visual things you can do to your spreadsheet is actually reformatting the size of the columns and the rows, and that's helpful for when you're putting more information in, or if you want to use larger text for any reason. I'm going to go ahead and, with my target right there, I'm going to take my pointer and I'm going to put it right between cells A1 and B1, or I'm sorry, between columns A and B. And it turns from an arrow, my traditional pointer arrow, into an arrow pointing to the right. I can go ahead and just pull, and that's going to expand my cell, or I'm sorry, my column A into a larger format, so I'm able to input more information there. We can do the exact same thing with the rows too. If you can see over here where my target's pointing up, I've taken my pointer, and from the traditional arrow pointer, it's an arrow up, and I can go ahead and expand the columns as well. So there's a lot more room for information to be presented. This is really helpful when you have a large heading, or if you put a lot of information into these cells. It's really hard to read when they're compact at their default settings. So when necessary, go ahead and expand a column or a row to allow easier reading of the information. Or if it just works for you visually, I would expand those.